My name is Shreya and this is Emma. I'll be playing the role of the dietitian, and my client that is joining us is Ms. Linda Rodriguez, who has been referred to nutrition counseling for pre-hypertension and DASH diet counseling. Hi, Ms. Rodriguez. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Shreya Arunachalam and I'm a registered dietitian. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Hello, Shreya. It's really nice to meet you.
Before we begin, I just wanted to let you know that everything we discuss during this session will remain confidential and is used only for your care and educational purposes. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, just a little bit tired from work.
That makes sense. Work can be very demanding. I noticed you were an elementary school teacher. What grade do you teach?
So I teach 3rd grade and we just started classes last week. So I'm just trying to ease the kids back into school, but I'm also trying to change some of the lessons to fit the new curriculum. So I've had a lot of work on my plate recently.
I can imagine. That takes a lot of patience and dedication. I know it's really tough to manage. What's one thing that went well for you this week and helped brighten your day?
Yeah, I celebrated my birthday last weekend with my family and friends. It was really fun because it's just been a while since I've seen some of my friends, so I had a really nice time with everyone.
That sounds like it was a really fun time. I'm glad you were able to spend some time with your family and friends. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day for being here. Today we'll talk about what brought you in, go over your eating habits, and work together to create a plan that feels realistic for you, especially focusing on your blood pressure and overall health. Does that sound okay?
Yes, that sounds good.
Perfect. Could you tell me what brought you in here today?
Honestly, I came in because my doctor told me my blood pressure has been higher than it should be. That kind of worried me, especially since it runs in my family. So they suggested that I meet with a dietitian before I start any medication. So I figured I should try to make some changes.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm really glad you came in today. It sounds like hearing that your blood pressure is elevated, especially with your family history, felt concerning for you. Can you tell me a little bit more about what specifically worries you about your blood pressure?
Yeah, it definitely worries me. Both of my parents have high blood pressure, and I've seen how it's affected their health over time. I guess I'm just scared that if I don't do something now, that it could get worse and lead to more serious problems.
It sounds like you've seen firsthand how high blood pressure can affect someone's health, and that it makes it feel more real and concerning for you. I can understand why that would be scary, especially thinking that what could happen in the future. The good news is that you're in a stage where lifestyle changes can really make a difference. How do you feel about that?
That's definitely reassuring to hear. I'd definitely rather try to make changes now than have things get worse later, and I'd also prefer to not take medications. I just feel a little overwhelmed because I'm not exactly sure what I should be doing differently, especially with how busy my schedule is.
It sounds like you're really motivated to take control of your health and avoid medication if possible, but at the same time you're feeling unsure about where to start, especially with such a busy schedule. That's completely understandable. We don't have to change everything at once, and we can start with small, realistic steps that fit into your routine so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Would it be okay if we take a closer look at your typical eating habits and daily routine and then work together to find a few manageable changes?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think that would really help because I don't always realize what I'm eating or how it might be affecting me.
Yes, it's definitely a great place to start. Now let's walk through a typical day of eating for you. What does breakfast usually look like?
Breakfast is usually pretty quick for me. I'll have a cup of coffee with flavored creamer, and then I'll grab something like a pastry or a muffin on my way out the door. I don't usually have time to make anything more than that in the mornings.
Got it. That should be very quick and convenient for your mornings. What about lunch?
Lunch kind of depends on the day. Sometimes I'll eat whatever the school cafeteria is serving, and other times I'll bring something like a sandwich from home with a bag of chips. It's usually something quick that I can eat during my break.
That makes a lot of sense. Having something quick and easy during your break is really important with your schedule. It sounds like convenience plays a big role into your food choices throughout the day. How does dinner sound? What does a typical evening meal look like for you?
Dinner's usually something quick and easy too. I'm pretty tired by the time I get home, so I'll make something like canned soup or heat up a frozen meal, but I don't really have the energy to cook a full meal most nights.
It's completely understandable that you want to make something quick and easy after a long, exhausting day. It sounds like your schedule and energy levels really influence your food choices, especially in the evenings. What about snacks during the day or night? Do you usually have anything in between meals?
Yeah, I do snack a little bit. Usually it's things like crackers, maybe some cheese, or sometimes cookies. Just whatever I have around that's easy to grab. Especially in the evenings, I tend to snack more while I'm relaxing.
Thank you for sharing that. It really helps me get a full picture of your routine. It sounds like most of your meals and snacks are built around convenience, which makes a lot of sense given how busy and tired you are throughout the day. Now, when looking at your labs, your blood pressure and cholesterol levels are elevated. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that definitely concerns me. I knew that my blood pressure was a little bit high, but hearing that my cholesterol is elevated too makes it feel more serious. I guess it makes me realize that my eating habits might be catching up on me, but at the same time, I'm not really sure what exactly I should be changing or how big of a difference it'll even make.
I hear you. Those feelings totally make sense. That's what we're here to work through together. So knowing that small, realistic changes can make a difference on both your blood pressure and cholesterol. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to make a change in your eating habits?
I think I would say around a 5 or a 6. I know I could make changes, but it feels a little bit overwhelming with my schedule and everything else going on.
I know you said you would like to make changes. What differences do you think you'll see within your day if you did implement those?
Usually when I'm overly stressed, I feel like I get headaches and my energy levels are usually low. I feel like if I did make some dietary changes that it would help to minimize these issues.
What do you think this would look like specifically to your working schedule?
I think with changes, I'll be able to be more present with my class and also have higher energy levels to keep up with the kids and just be less tired throughout the day.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like improving your eating habits isn't just about your blood pressure or cholesterol, but also feeling more energized and able to engage fully with your students. Let's talk about 1 or 2 small changes that feel realistic for you to start with so that you could begin experiencing those benefits.
Yeah, I think starting small would help me to be more consistent as well.
Yes, I agree as well. So what I'm hearing is that your meals are often quick and convenient, which makes sense with your busy schedule. But many of these foods tend to be higher in sodium. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, I guess I don't really think about the sodium that much.
That's very common. Most people don't realize how much sodium there is in everyday foods like soups, frozen meals, and chips.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I just never really paid attention to how much sodium was in those foods. I just go for whatever's easiest, and I didn't realize that it could be affecting my blood pressure that much.
Yes, a lot of people are in the same situation, so you're definitely not alone here. Even small changes in reducing sodium can have a big impact on your blood pressure over time. Would it be okay if I showed you a few simple ways to lower sodium in your meals without making things more complicated or time-consuming?
Yeah, I would like that. If it's something simple, then I'm definitely open to trying it.
Great. It's called the DASH diet, and it stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. It's not really a strict diet, but more of a flexible way for eating that focuses more on improving heart health and lowering blood pressure.
Okay, that sounds a lot more manageable to do rather than a strict diet.
Yes, it definitely is. Here's a couple of handouts about the DASH diet. I have a My Plate handout over here that gives you servings of different foods and also a DASH eating plan on what's preferred to eat and what could be limited in your diet. A helpful way to think about DASH is using the My Plate. Half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, and 1/4 is whole grains, and the other 1/4 is lean protein. The diet also encourages low-fat dairy, nuts and seeds, and limiting sodium, added sugars, and saturated fats.
Okay, that actually makes it a lot easier to picture.
I'm glad to hear that. Let's connect this to what you're currently eating. Right now, your meals are quick and convenient, but many of these foods like canned soups, frozen meals tend to be higher in sodium and lower in fresh foods like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What are some low sodium substitutions that I can make?
That's a great question. There are a lot of simple swaps that can help lower sodium without making your meals super complicated. For example, you can look for low sodium or reduced sodium versions of packaged foods, choosing fresh or frozen vegetables without any added sauces, or even swapping chips for unsalted nuts, or fresh fruits, or whole grain crackers. The goal isn't to eliminate everything at once, but just start making a few substitutions here and there so that whatever feels easiest for you.
Yeah, that actually sounds a lot easier than I expected. I like that I don't have to change everything all at once, because that makes it feel a lot less overwhelming.
Yeah, it sounds like a great place to start. What do you notice is missing from your meals when you compare them to this plate?
Probably fruits and vegetables, especially vegetables. I don't really include them in most of my meals unless it just comes with something. And now that I think about it, I also rely a lot on processed foods like canned soups and frozen meals. So I guess my meals really just aren't balanced like that plate you showed me.
Yes, that's a really important observation. One of the biggest parts of DASH is reducing sodium, because too much sodium can raise your blood pressure by causing your body to hold on extra fluid. Many processed foods, like the ones you mentioned, can have a lot more sodium than we expect.
Yeah, I didn't realize that before.
What do you think about making some small changes to reduce sodium in your meals?
I think I could definitely try, as long as it's not too complicated.
Yes, that's completely understandable. We're not aiming for perfection, just small, manageable changes that can fit your routine. We can also make sure these changes fit your preferences and lifestyle so that you don't have to completely change what you eat and adjust it to a healthier direction.
That makes me feel better. About it. I think I'd be more likely to stick with it that way, especially with how busy my schedule is.
What do you think would be some of the benefits of making these changes?
I think the biggest would be lowering my blood pressure, which is really important to me right now. I'd also probably have more energy throughout the day, especially at work, because lately I feel pretty drained. I guess it could also help me feel better overall and maybe even improve my focus. And if it helps me avoid medication, that would definitely be a big benefit for me too.
Those are great benefits. It sounds like improving your energy, overall well-being, and avoiding medication is very important to you. What do you think might make it difficult?
Honestly, probably time. My schedule is just really busy, and by the time I get home, I'm just exhausted. The idea of cooking or preparing meals feels overwhelming most days. I also feel like I've just gotten used to the quick and convenient foods, so changing that routine might be a little bit hard at first.
That's a very real challenge. I really appreciate you being honest about that. It sounds like your schedule and energy levels really play a big role in your food choices, which is something we could definitely work around. On a scale from 0 to 10, how ready do you feel to make changes to your diet? 0 being not ready at all, and 10 being completely ready.
I'd say maybe around a 7. I'm definitely thinking about it more now, and I know it's something I should work on, but I don't feel completely ready yet, especially with everything going on in my schedule.
That's a great place to start. Why not a lower number like 3?
I think because I really do want to get healthier. Hearing about my blood pressure made it feel more real, and I don't want things to get worse over time. I've also seen how it's affected my parents, and I don't want to go down that same path. I know that making some changes now could make a big difference, even if I start small.
That is really important. You already have that motivation. It sounds like your desire to improve your health really drives that readiness, even if it doesn't feel like a perfect 10 yet. Let's start with one small realistic goal this week. Looking at your meals, where do you feel the most comfortable making a change?
I'd say maybe dinner.
Great choice. What if we modify your dinner slightly? For example, replacing canned soup with a lower sodium version or adding a vegetable to your meal.
Yeah, I think I could do that. That feels a lot more realistic than trying to cook something totally new every night.
Awesome. Let's make it specific. Replace high sodium dinners with a lower sodium option and include at least one vegetable at least 3 times a week, starting Monday up until our follow-up appointment in 2 weeks. How does that sound?
That sounds doable. It feels like a good starting point without being too much all at once.
That's perfect. What do you think might get in the way of achieving this goal?
Honestly, probably being too tired.
That's very understandable. What could help it make it easier?
Maybe prepping ahead of time or buying easy options.
Yeah, that's a great solution. Pre-cut veggies or frozen vegetables can save time and still be healthy. Now, what do you think about writing down the goal we discussed in a counseling agreement?
Yeah, I'd be happy to write down that as my goal. I like that it's something I can actually follow through on.
Okay, here's the counseling agreement. What's one way that you could track your goal for the next 2 weeks?
I think I could keep track of it on my phone, maybe in my notes app. I could just check off the days when I make a lower sodium meal and add a vegetable. That way it's simple and it doesn't take too much extra time.
Yeah, that's a really convenient way to keep track of your progress. It's amazing that you're balancing a demanding job and still taking steps on improving your health. It shows a lot of commitment.
Thank you.
So now let's summarize what we've discussed today. Your goal is to reduce sodium, improve overall diet quality, and focus on modifying dinners by including vegetables and choosing lower sodium options at least 3 times a week. Was that correct?
Yes, that sounds right. I like that it's specific and something I can actually stick to.
Great. Let's plan a follow-up in about 2 weeks to see how things are going and build on that progress. Does that work for you?
Yes, that works for me.
Perfect. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for coming in today. I'm really excited to work with you, and I believe these small changes can make a really big difference.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad I came in today.